Is Ananta going to release in 2025? Well, not only do I think it will release in 2025, but I believe that it's going to release midway through 2025. Now, just a disclaimer before we get into the video, this is entirely speculation, my own personal opinion. Nothing's been officially revealed, and I haven't looked at any leaks. Because of that, can we please stay leak-free from the comments? I'm pretty sure Ananta has done a pretty good job of hiding any leaks, but if there is any, I don't want to know. This is entirely speculation. So with that, let's get into the reasons why I believe Ananta will release midway through this year. So the first point is their social media posts, not the actual posts themselves, I'm going to cover that in just a second, but more so the frequency of them. Because Ananta, or at the time Project Mugen, released a trailer on the 24th of August 2023. That was the first sort of sign of the game, from my knowledge. And after that, they basically just went silent, like we heard nothing from them, and I'd assume they'd just be working just solely on the game and not sparing anyone for advertisement, just getting the game done. Until the 5th of December 2024, which is when they released their newest trailer, and that was also around the time where they also changed the name from Project Mugen to Ananta. And after that trailer, we've had some relatively consistent social media posts, which makes me believe that they are far enough into development with the game where they can afford to dedicate some time and energy to social media and advertisement and getting the game out there, because this game has a very high chance of reaching a more mainstream audience, as it is a very, very similar game to GTA 6, which is most likely going to be the biggest game release in quite some time. So while we're on the topic of their social media posts, I also would like to talk about some of the specific social media posts that also make me believe that the game will come out sometime this year. The first post I'd like to talk about is their most recent one, which is the Spring Festival 2025 post, which originally I did think was a little bit weird because spring isn't for another month, so it's kind of weird that they're putting out a post about spring. Ooh, maybe that's release date. But then I went back and looked, and they did the same thing last year. They posted the same kind of posts around the same time. Still confuses me why they're posting a thing about Spring Festival when spring's not for another month, but I don't feel like that is, teasing release dates or anything. What has a slightly higher chance of teasing release dates is this specific scene or freeze frame from their trailer, in which you can see this cat which has a ticket in its mouth. And if you look, you can see a date on that ticket. That date is 2020X070X. Some people believe that that means the game is going to release from the 1st to the 9th of July 2025. Now personally, I think that is a little bit of a stretch, but there is also some other evidence pointing sort of towards it releasing midway through the year. Now, I did not discover that. I've sort of seen it floating around social media a little bit, but I thought I might as well chuck it in here because this video is all about speculation, so I'm just going to throw in anything that might have something to do with it. Now, if I really want to go to a stretch and say that it's going to be in July, we can also look at the name of the song that was in the release trailer they posted, which is Seventh Heaven. So, Seventh Heaven, the ticket saying 07, maybe they're both tying together to say it's going to release in July. I don't know. It's quite a big stretch. Now, that does completely negate the whole spring thing I talked about just before. Realistically, maybe we might see a beta test then. It's too early for an actual release when they haven't done any beta tests. Now, the next point I want to bring up is to do with Neverness to Everness and GTA 6, which are sort of two games that Ananta would not necessarily compete with, because nothing is competing with GTA 6. But Ananta is competing with Neverness to Everness. We haven't gotten a release date for those two games, but we can go ahead and assume that Neverness to Everness will release around the same time as Ananta, because if you look at their social media posts and everything else, they sort of look similar in terms of their completion. GTA 6 is most likely going to release late 2025, I'd say, so Ananta might want to release earlier in the year to not compete with GTA 6. Not that I really think it's going to compete too much, because it is an entirely different type of game. Now, do I think that's going to influence their release date? Probably a little bit. That's why I think that mid-year is probably a decent time for them to release Ananta, where they're not competing with GTA 6, because realistically, that's going to come out end of the year, most likely. And then we haven't heard anything from Neverness to Everness, so I'd say it's going to be a little bit of a battle to see who releases first, and whose game is cleaner and more polished when it releases. Then also, Ananta's also had their test back in January, which was an offline controlled test. However, I think there were rumors it was supposed to be a online test, which is what the whole Vanguards thing they did on their Discord is for. Don't really know. I can't say for sure. All I can say is that it is a test they did. It is a beta test, which means the game has some level of completion. But then that also leads me on to the point of the actual Vanguard thing, which basically there was a set amount of time you'd sign up for that in Discord, and then you'd basically have first picks, first dibs whenever there was a beta test, an online beta test. The Vanguards would be the first people to sort of get their pick and play. And if you look at the time that they did that, it sort of made sense that it might be for that January 5th offline testing, but that was changed to just be a controlled offline test rather than an online test. But still, the fact that the Vanguards exist does make me think that there's going to be a beta test, like an online uncontrolled beta test, in the near future, because otherwise they would have done the Vanguards a lot later, closer to when there actually is going to be a beta test. So maybe like February, March, we're going to sort of see a beta test. And if there is a beta test around February, March, that would make sense to then release the game in July, August, because that is about 4 to 5 months after the beta test would happen in February, March to release it in July, August, which to me feels like enough time. Obviously, I'm not a game dev, but it feels like enough time to patch up anything that was a little bit not correct in the beta testing and then polish the game to release. Obviously, they want the game to be as polished as possible when it releases, so it might need more time, but personally, if we get a beta test around February, March, I'm pretty certain we're going to see the release around a July, August, maybe September if we push it a little bit later. And so now we get to the most concrete reason why I think Ananta is going to release this year. And that is that Ananta has their publishing license from the NPPA, which basically any game that releases in China, I'm pretty sure the NPPA is a China-specific organization. Any game that releases needs to have a publishing license. And once you get that publishing license, you have a year to publish that game. Ananta got their publishing license on the 23rd of December, 2024, which means they have to publish the game either on or before the 23rd of December 2025. Obviously, there are cases where you can push that back, but realistically, it's going to come out before then, which is basically complete solid evidence that the game is coming out this year. So, what do I make of all this and what do I think is going to happen? Well, as I've said throughout this video, I think that because Ananta has their publishing license, and because of the little tiny hints we've gotten, I personally believe that the game is going to release around that July, August. As long as we see a beta test around February, March, maybe April if they really want to make it a smaller time frame. Those little things I've discussed might just be there's going to be a beta test in July. But that wouldn't make sense to me because then they'd be releasing Ananta around the same time GTA 6 comes out. And I'm pretty sure every game is trying to stay clear of that release date. So to me, it makes sense to release the game around mid-year. And with the Vanguards already being a thing and the registrations for that closing like a month ago, it makes sense that they would have gone through those registrations and we're going to see a beta test soon. And then they have about 5-6 months to then fix all the problems, polish the game and release it. Obviously, this is just speculation, my personal opinion. Nothing has been officially confirmed. I'm just throwing ideas out there because this genuinely looks like it's going to be one of my favorite games ever. So I just wanted to make a video about it because I've been really enjoying trying to find little hints and find little things, do some of the trailers and trying to find little things that might hint to release dates or whatever, just purely because I absolutely love the game. It looks really fun. So let me know what you think about Ananta and when you think it might release in the comments. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed and I will see you next time. Good. Bye.